Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I am Tina. Today I'm doing a book review of The Trials of Empire by Richard Swan. This is book 3 of the Empire of the Wolf trilogy. It's a fantasy book from Orbit that's coming out in February of 2024. I received this arc from NetGalley in exchange for a fair review. This review is solely for those of you who read books 1 and 2, which I own. If you haven't read The Justice of Kings, which is the first book yet, because you should, scroll to the end of this video and you'll find I've linked my review of it there. But before you go, I will say, if you love epic fantasy that brings in elements from other genres like horror, courtroom drama, if you like dog companions, strong female characters, complex characters all around, great world building, a realistic love story, coming of age, ethical questions, and excellent action scenes, you should check out this series. If you couldn't tell, I absolutely freaking loved it. And Tyranny of Faith was my favorite book of last year out of 106 or 108 books. So yeah. Now I'm moving into spoilers for books 1 and 2, so please stop here if you're interested in the series and you haven't read books 1 or 2 yet. I don't need to do a synopsis of the book for you folks, so suffice to say that this book starts where the last ends, with Vonvalt, Helena, Radomir, and Van Osterlin heading away from the Sylvan lands. Vonvalt has been decreed a traitor, and Bartholomew Claver is still on the rampage. If you love action and fantasy battles, you will be happy to note that the last third of this novel, aside from the epilogue, is basically one long battle. A glorious, violent, intricate battle where Helena's perspective is integral to showing the exhaustion and fear present in such a situation. This is not a raw, victorious death kind of battle. It is a why is this even happening fight against a terrible foe. There's also some great scenes in the afterlife or the other realms or wherever they are, and some awesome monsters and demons. I don't want to talk about them too much because it's really cool. There's some really kind of disturbing, gross stuff in there as well for the kind of horror aspects. I was totally on board for it because it's like so interesting. The character development is exceptional. Vonvalt's arc is not a rushed or hyperbolic fall from grace, but a realistic bending of principles. We're asked to question Sir Conrad's methods, and it's hard not to both agree and disagree with his logic, just like Helena does. In this way, we are just like Helena, as we've grown to care about Vonvalt and also worry he's become corrupt or going too far. This isn't a story where everyone is either good or evil, but a novel where our main characters sometimes make hard choices or nuanced decisions, and they have to deal with them. Helena is not perfect either, but she's also very young. I loved how her youth is something she considers amidst the action as well. I can't imagine going through all that she does and then what do you do with the next 60 years of your life, you know? What purpose would you feel you have when you've done all of this and you're not even 21? The book raises these interesting questions and many others. The writing is also quick-paced and easily accessible, but with the added bonus of more courtroom drama, yay, and mature dialogue that is also speckled with humor at times. The book also not so subtly calls out our own world, specifically the hypocrisy and moral decrepitude of our governing systems and politicians. The book attacks dictatorships and theocrats and people who claim to be speaking for the people, but are clearly using these people to further their own personal agendas, as well as those who can see these things happening but do nothing to stop it. There's a line I really liked, and this is from an arc, so the line may be altered or removed from the final version, but I'm going to say it anyway. You'll never be free of self-doubt. It is part of what makes you a good person. The evil in this world are entirely unafflicted by it, and that is the problem. Would that we were all a little more introspective, a little more empathetic. 100% agree. Yet the balance is superb. These things are strewn in there, but it never gets preachy in that regard or feels like it's trying too hard to say something. In this way, it says a lot. I also enjoyed how the book brought in the concept that the world they live in is a small part of the world. It's clearly a European world building, but it acknowledges how there is a rest of the planet, and that what is happening here in this particular small segment of it is not the center of the world. I also liked how it's not rooted in a sexist medieval setting, as women in this book are treated as equals and just as capable as men in every regard. There aren't any queer characters in the book, at least that I remember, but, you know, you can't have it all, I guess. So overall, a fantastic end to a absolutely wonderful trilogy. I'm definitely going to buy the paperback. I am so glad I picked up the audiobook of Justice of Kings last year, kind of on like a whim. I was like, I don't know what to listen to, and then I don't even remember who told me to read this, but I was like, yeah, sounds cool. And then absolutely hooked, absolutely hooked. So I'm so glad to whoever mentioned this, or maybe it was just even on Goodreads. Maybe Goodreads has done some good for once. Yeah. Now I am going to move into some spoiler territory. There is some fangirl stuff I just have to talk about. It's regarding my favorite character and also about the romance, because I have opinions about that. So if you haven't read the third book yet, please stop now, and thank you so much for watching, and also thank you to the publishers and to NetGalley for the e-arc, and thank you to the author for writing an amazing series. So, onto my fangirling. Of course. Of course, Heinrich is also your favorite character. Isn't he everyone's favorite character? I was so happy when he was brought back. He reminds me of my big boy Ruger, you know, killer of everything, but also a huge, huge cuddle muffin. When I thought he was poisoned, and then when I thought he died in battle, I was like, no. Though I was sure he'd come back, you know, I was sure. And he did. I absolutely love it. I loved it. I loved it. Thank you for Heinrich. Thank you. Now, onto the romance between Helena and Von Valt. I have to say, despite the complete dousing of sexual tension in cold water in this book, I really, really liked how it was resolved. Despite Von Valt's swoony letter from the end of Tyranny, like, hoo-hoo, I always did think that his position as her mentor and their age gap was problematic. That isn't to say that age gaps are always problematic. I mean, my parents are 14 years apart, but given he was in a position of power in multiple aspects, I think I would have felt a bit like kind of like icky if they had actually ended up together. We did get a kiss scene, but the way it kind of came about and how Helena felt about it kind of mocked the feelings of book 2, and I thought that was really clever, and it showed how Helena's opinions really had changed. This book also shows that sometimes being rational, you know, about things is the best course. And Von Valt's downfall, or at least shift, to someone that Helena couldn't possibly love, had a huge hand in this, and it was expertly done. She really, really struggles, and you feel her struggle, and you understand her struggle with her feelings for who he was, or who she thought he was, versus the person that he's shown to be. And I thought that was expertly done. In truth, I thought this part of the story was fantastic in that it started platonic, you know, aside from the schoolgirl crush on Helena's side, which honestly makes sense. I mean, I had crushes on a whole bunch of my university professors. And then it developed into something highly shippable, and then it was resolved in a manner that was realistic and nuanced and responsible. And as a, 38-year-old woman, I like responsible. And so I was super into how that resolved. Besides, it is open-ended. Who's to say Helena didn't track him down a few years later and they got together then? We don't know. And that's kind of the fun thing about it. So yeah, that's my fangirl opinions on this book. Let me know in the comments if you have read this, but please use like spoiler tags, what you thought about the relationship. And also let me know in the comments if Heinrich was also your favorite character, because if he wasn't, then I don't understand. I don't understand you at all. How am I supposed to understand that?